All right, y'all. So we got to discuss an underreported fact about this fake peace deal that's going on right now between Israel and Gaza. So as you all know, there were 20 Israeli hostages who were released, and there were about 2,000 Palestinian hostages that were released. And this is part of what they call phase one of the peace agreement. The problem is there is no actual phase two. The Israeli side is saying things that are very different from what the Palestinian side are saying when it comes to phase two. It's pretty obvious that what's going to happen is they're going to go right back to bombing and attacking and doing what they were doing beforehand, all the while pretending like Hamas violated the deal, even though it's them that violated the deal. So this isn't much of a peace agreement. This is a fake peace deal. And it's already the case, by the way, that they've violated the ceasefire agreement. I'm going to do a separate segment on that in a little bit. But an underreported fact about this fake peace agreement is the following. Take a look at this from Newsweek. Is the U.S. sending troops to Israel? Here's what we know. I'll give you the TLDR. The answer is yes. Trump just illegally sent U.S. troops to Israel. So let me walk you through it here. The Associated Press reported following the announcement of the deal that the U.S. would send about 200 troops alongside other allies and non-governmental organizations to support and monitor the peace deal in Gaza, citing two officials. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt wrote in a post to X on Thursday, to be clear, up to 200 U.S. personnel who are already stationed at CENTCOM will be tasked with monitoring the peace agreement in Israel, and they will work with other international forces on the ground. So the reason Leavitt said that, whatever, bro, there's not even a big deal. They're already like in the Middle East and stuff, man. Who cares, man? Is because there was backlash and people were like, whoa, hold on. What the hell happened to America first? Now you're sending U.S. troops to Israel? And by the way, I should point out, this is completely and utterly illegal. None of this is legal. If you were going to try to send U.S. troops to the region, even if it is just for quote unquote peacekeeping, you would need to go through Congress in order to do that. But of course, Trump doesn't give a fuck about Congress. He basically acts like Congress doesn't exist. And at the same time, it's not like Democrats are actually acting as a sufficient opposition party, so they're not fucking talking about this. But here we go. Now 200 U.S. troops in the region. So what happens if one of them gets shot and killed? What about that? What happens, by the way, now you open them up to legal liability because Israel is doing a genocide, and now you have direct aiding and abetting of a genocide because they're going to go right back to bombing immediately after the hostages get handed off. What about that? Right? I mean, this is our money and our weapons, and look at what they're doing now in our name. So you're aiding and abetting the genocidal terror state of Israel, and no vote on this whatsoever, and even his own base is looking at this like, I don't know about all that, man. All right, here's what they say. Troops with CENTCOM, formerly known as United States Central Command, are already stationed across the globe, including parts of the Middle East. Troops who are already in Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates could be sent to Israel, according to the AP. So, in other words, U.S. troops at the bases in the region are going to be sent there. By the way, I should be clear. I think that they're lying about the 200 number. I think it's going to be more than that. These troops will work to set up a civil-military coordination center to facilitate humanitarian aid, as well as provide logistical and security assistance in the region, the AP reported. They will also monitor the ceasefire and transition to a civilian government in Gaza. Huh? So now, they're staying there to see through, what, Hamas being deposed? So are they going to be there for a very long time? It sure sounds like it. Remember, as part of this fake peace agreement, apparently Tony Blair and Donald Trump become like the viceroys of Gaza. They oversee Gaza. Like, what the fuck is this? By the way, even under the terms of the agreement, they go, oh, Israel's withdrawing from Gaza. Then you look at the specifics, they still maintain control of 60% of Gaza. This thing is a total ruse. This thing is a ruse. And understand something, the real reason he's sending U.S. troops is why? Because Trump is actually committed to that goofy AI video, the vision of that goofy AI video he posted, where him and Netanyahu were sipping margaritas by the, at the hotel pool, and they're building Trump hotels, Trump casinos, and they're building golden statues to Trump in the middle of Gaza. Like, this is what he actually wants to see through, and he's sending U.S. troops in order to carry out this absolutely disgusting, depraved vision. They say the AP reported that no American troops will be sent to Gaza. Really? Well, that's directly contradictory to what you said like 5 fucking seconds ago. Meanwhile, Israel said on Friday that its troops were withdrawing to pre-agreed positions inside the Gaza Strip. That's what I was telling you. They're still maintaining control of 60% of the Gaza Strip. By the way, all of the fertile lands Israel still controls. Let me repeat that. All of the fertile lands Israel still controls. Meanwhile, Israel said on Friday that its troops were withdrawing to pre-agreed positions on the Gaza Strip, a major step forward, a major step toward ending the conflict. Hamas is expected to release Israeli hostages next week. So they released the 20 hostages. Israel released about 2,000 Palestinian hostages. And now you're about to see everything go right back to what it was before, even though a bunch of idiots in the media are pretending that's not going to be the case. By the way, I like what Wajahat Ali says here. He says, Trump sending 200 troops to Gaza and allowing Qatar to build a base in Ohio is not going to go over well. In Idaho, is not going to go over well with the America First MAGA movement. Clearly, he no longer cares, but this will likely cause more fractures. That is exactly right. And the reality is, we're adding to a long list of so-called America First betrayals. In his second term alone, Trump is already bombing Venezuela. He bombed Yemen. He bombed Somalia. He bombed Iran. He's threatening Greenland. He's threatening Panama. What part of this is America First? There is no part of this that is America First. In fact, it's very clear he's going old school imperialist, old school colonialist. That's what he's doing. This is on top of everything he did in the first term, which was increasing the drone war over 400% and keeping us in Iraq and keeping us in Afghanistan and bombing Syria and also bombing Somalia in the first term and taking the oil from Syria and increasing the Pentagon budget every single year and assassinating Qasem Soleimani, the top Iranian commander, and trying to coup Venezuela the first time. And all these different foreign policy hawkish things. The same motherfucker that ran against the neocons, these stupid wars, these stupid Middle East wars, all these neocons. That guy has become the ultimate neocon. The neocon of the neocons. So he was always full of shit. That's the point. He was always completely and utterly full of shit. And this is another example of it here. And the thing that drives me probably the most crazy is that we're talking about this, right? A handful of other outlets will talk about it. But you think mainstream media is going to give this sufficient coverage? That Trump just illegally sent hundreds of U.S. soldiers to Israel? You think they're going to come? If Joe Biden did this, the reaction would be over the top from the right. It would be out of this world. Fox News would talk about a hair on fire. You're barely going to get a peep in mainstream media, but more importantly, you're barely going to get a peep out of the so-called opposition party, the Democrats. And that is incredibly disturbing and incredibly disgusting because I'm telling you right now, this will continue to spiral out of control. Just like all the other shit he's doing, just like the war with Venezuela, all of this will continue to spiral out of control. This is what this man does. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.